This is Something in Me, written by Janice Stanfield and myself. And this is for anyone going through a challenge who needs a little extra encouragement. Something in me wants you to see how beautiful you are. Something in you knows that it's true, how beautiful you are. Like the snow can't hide the grandeur of the mountain, and the rain can't hide the color of the rose. There's a light in you that's shining through more than you'll ever know. Something in me wants you to see how beautiful you are. Something in you knows that it's true, how beautiful you are. Like the night can't hide the sparkle of the starlight, and the clouds can't hide the sun's warm golden glow. There's a light in you that's shining through more than you'll ever know. Something in me wants you to see how beautiful you are. Something in you knows that it's true, how beautiful you are. If your heart feels broken open, please don't doubt, 'cause that's how the light gets in and out. Something in me wants you to see how beautiful you are. Something in you knows that it's true, how beautiful you are. How beautiful you are. How beautiful.
Hi, I'm Becky Meagher, and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions. We all have so many different transitions in our life, from our beginnings when we don't know what we're doing to, well, I like to use the metaphor of triathlon, something I'll be doing next week in Chattanooga. The first thing you do, you swim, and then you get out in the water and get in the transition area, and then you bicycle, and then you get off your bike and then transition, and then you run. And that's just a great metaphor for what we do in life. And so today I have an amazing person who is classically trained, can do rock and roll, can write incredible music and present it, and is beautiful, and has an incredible journey that she's gone through lately, a journey with cancer. And she's going to tell us how she has come through this and on the other side. And Lisa Firestone, thank you for being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Becky. Transitions indeed.
Yes. So basically, we're going to have you sing some songs. I think we began with your first song. And tell us a little bit of what's happening right now, and we'll go to a little behind, a little background too. But what's happening with you? I notice you have a little headdress, and you don't have a whole lot of hair. What's going on?
I don't have a lot of hair. So I am a brain cancer survivor. I had reoccurring brain cancer that was first diagnosed in 2015, and then returned and was removed in 2015, then returned in 2019, was removed again. I didn't even know it was cancer. In fact, I kind of learned this a little late in the game. It was just a tumor, was all I knew, until I looked at a report one day and saw the word malignant, and had a conversation with my doctor and realized I was being protected. So
They never told you you had cancer.
didn't use the word cancer. It was just tumor. It was just a bad guy tumor or something like that. It was almost, yeah. And so I have completed radiation as of 2 months ago, and that's why I'm still a little hairless and getting my groove back, so to speak.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, getting your mojo back
Yes, ma'am.
on the road to healing.
Yes, ma'am.
And they remove
Brushing off.
the tumors. You've done your chemo, and now you're in the other side.
And actually, I didn't actually have chemo. I had radiation.
Radiation.
And there's a special kind of radiation where it's called proton therapy, where it's very directed so that the harm to the rest of the body is limited. And that's where I am. Yeah.
Wow. So you are a music person, and I want to give a little background. And the songs that are on this show today, you've just recently written, and they're so apropos with what you've just been going through, and anybody else going through a time of cancer or disease, or can relate to the fear of death, and it's all going to happen to us all. And you putting it in song is an amazing thing. But I want to know a little bit background of you. I believe, tell us where you began, and I think you said you started playing piano at 5?
Yeah, I was 5 years old when I started, and it was all classical, and
Classical, like Bach and...
I had an early start, and I was quite good at it, and so I had this Mozart, Bach, Beethoven thing going in elementary school even, and
Wow, elementary school.
But I couldn't put together what I was doing with what was happening in the musical world, so I wound up leaving it after college, just not sure until I finally got frustrated trying to be a secretary and everything else. And I went back to school as a musician and just got a little training and learned how to listen. And it wasn't until I was about 30 that I had my first gig and sang. And
You were 30 when you had your first gig, like in front of live people.
yeah.
Okay, where was
out of the
that?
closet.
Wow.
Oh, it was a church. It was safe. There was no tomatoes.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you singing in a church, and by that time you had family.
I had 2 small children, and
And this was in California?
Actually, I was in Orlando at that time.
Orlando, okay.
But I was from California, and I I became a single mother after a few years of marriage, and raised my kids, and discovered that I could avoid bars and smoky environments by singing in church. And it really fed my soul to be a music director, so I became a music director. And I've been a music director for 20 years.
Wow, so you were a music director for 20 years, and was that in Orlando you were?
I started in Orlando, and I'm still doing that too. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So, you came to Nashville because why?
Well, I fell crazy head over heels, and the relationship didn't last, but the relationship with this musical city did.
Aha!
And
Brought you here.
it did, and I've never regretted it. I've never regretted it. I love it here. I love the communities here.
Well, I find it fascinating that with your classical background, and then you found a home being a musical director in a church, that lately with COVID and healing your own physical self too, you are able to perform in churches, many churches, with the help of Zoom, right?
Zooming in.
Zooming in. What a creative way to keep your music alive and make a living. And what different parts of the world are you performing in then?
Yeah.
Virtually.
Well, I think the most services I've done on one day was 4. And one was pre-recorded. One was in person, 2 were Zoomed, and 2 were here in Nashville, 1 further east, and then 1 on the West Coast, and it just worked.
Wow.
It's been actually a real blessing for me to have, I mean, the timing with COVID was good for me, because I had just come out of my 4th brain surgery, and I wasn't in a position of really being capable of doing, something real strenuous. And so this has allowed me some time to heal while I can still support myself and do what I love to do.
Wow. Wow. So the lessons you have learned when you say, it was my 4th brain surgery, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that you've gone on a spiritual path too.
Yeah.
And I believe, didn't you go to South America and have some I forgot what the miracle plant is. What do you call it?
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. Yes.
Ayahuasca. Sorry.
Yeah.
And do you feel that spiritual journey kind of helped you in your transition? I mean, 4 times having brain surgery, that's a lot to go through.
Yeah. Well, this was just before the 2nd diagnosis that I did the ayahuasca. And I went to this beautiful, extraordinary resort called Rhythmia. And Rhythmia is essentially, rather than going into the jungle where you're lying in the dirt and taking this, it was just a beautiful, comfortable resort. And it was still very sacred. And my experience there opened me up to a greater truth, that I knew something was coming. I knew that something was going on. The experience that I had told me so, and it was shortly after I came back that I was diagnosed with this 2nd tumor, and that was removed right away, but right after that there was an infection, and that was the thing that really almost took me out.
The infection from the 2nd operation. Wow.
Which led to a 3rd operation, and then for 3 months I had what happened was the infection was in the bone, so they removed the bone, and I had kind of this goofy crater in my head, and and then 3 months later, in the midst of COVID, I was replaced with cranioplasty. So I am truly a living miracle. And I think that it's interesting too, because I've noticed that everything I've ever judged or resisted has come to me as an opportunity at some point in my life. And one of the things that I really resisted was modern medicine. I was just a total granola. I just never thought I'd need it. I'd never had health insurance. I mean, none of it. And so these surgeries saved my life. And so now, of course, and actually immediately following the surgery, I was really fortunate. I had just a plethora of wonderful, supportive people who raised a GoFundMe for me, and that money was used to pursue different therapies. And so I'm still going my granola holistic journey with natural therapies. But ultimately, I've had to trust things that I didn't trust, and that's been a part of my journey.
Wow. And tell us a little bit about alternative therapies that you might.
Alternative therapies. You know, I started with acupuncture, and one of the things that has been, well, of course, massage has actually been one of the most pleasurable, but one of the things that's been so helpful is something called neurofeedback.
Neurofeedback.
Yeah, because there's a lot of trauma that happens in the brain, and the neurofeedback helps wire the circuits to the closest places, so that it's like it helps calm the PTSD and the other things. And then, interestingly enough, one of the most healing parts of my journey has been discovering the power of compassion and empathy.
Compassion and empathy.
Yes, that empathy is, in fact, a healing agent for the brain, that when we're met with understanding, our trauma circuits start to rewire, and there's a softening and a kind of a rewiring so that we feel safe again. And there is an organization called, well, it's a skill or a tool called nonviolent communication, and there's an organization here in Nashville called the NVC Nashville. And I've been very involved with them, and part of that is it's all about giving and receiving and holding space for people where they are, not necessarily going in and trying to force them to cheer up or anything like that, but really being mindful and present with someone right where they are. So that's been powerful for me, and I get to give that back to others, and that's where I am now. Yeah.
And at this point, too, you had talked about maybe starting your own ministry. Is that on the horizon?
Yeah, I have. So these songs I've been writing are really for people going through something like what I've been through. And what my intention is to bring this into people where they have cancer or they have their own healing journey, and to meet them where they are, to offer empathy, understanding, and musical ministry.
Musical ministry.
A musical ministry, so that they can be known, and they remember they matter. You know, when I was in the hospital, I mean, it's a lonely journey no matter how you go it. But my experience of being in the hospital was, that was really life-changing for me, to really understand what it's like to be on the other side of something, to be really wanting accompaniment. And wanting to know that I still mattered, and that I could be seen and known for who I am. And that's what NVC does. That's what nonviolence does, is to help to help people feel and know that they are seen through needs-based language. Yeah.
And I know a part of your journey, a 12-step and Al-Anon thing has been a helpful thing, and then you can help mentor other people, and not just cancer-related, but in life-related.
Oh, yeah.
You know, relationships, all that. I've done a little bit of work on that myself, so I understand that can be a real additional kind of healing process.
Yeah.
Yes.
Principles to live by, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then as a side note, I find it fascinating that I know that you are a writer, not just a songwriter, but a writer of like video scripts. And you helped do, I guess you were a hired gun to write a script on a number of videos that have gotten like 7 million hits or something on YouTube. Is that right?
Well, yeah, and the high one is 15 million, but
15 million. Gee.
but collectively it's 39 million in English.
my
So
heavens.
that is an interesting part of my journey, and I'm not sure that it's over, but I do know that I'm really committed to putting my attention to where it matters. And I think sometimes it's easy, you know, there's a real excitement about something going viral. But I also want to recognize that there's a lot of suffering in the world, and there's a lot of things that are you know, there's just a lot of ways to give and a lot of ways to help people. And so I think that the next part of that journey will be intentional. The things that I was talking about were a lot of historical theories and different ideas that you don't hear in mainstream history. And it was really a lot of fun, but let's just say not all of it is some of it goes against the grain. So
yeah, a little bit alternative philosophies and all, but the cool thing is that you not only can write songs, sing them, you can write a script, and you know how to do the video part and narrate it too, and narration is another part. So I think maybe in the future, combining all those things and your ministry and the fact that you are healing yourself in so many different ways, physically, all the brain surgeries, and look how beautiful you are, and presenting this beautiful, these thoughts to help other people. I think that's a bright future and can get you going to keep going.
thank you. Yeah,
You know.
thank you. See, I feel seen. Thank you.
Definitely, you're going to be really seen on this show, that's for sure, and not only seen and heard, because the music that you are currently writing, based on your experience too, is just phenomenal.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and the songs that I'm sharing today, Something in Me, is for people on the journey like my own. And Unafraid is something, you know, about really recognizing that when we embrace all of what's happening, it gives us a strength, an inner strength, and it helps weed out what's really important from what's not. So,
yes, that's wonderful. Well, Lisa Firestone, thank you for being on the show. That is Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit.
Thank you.
I'm unafraid to live, I'm unafraid to die, to love with all my heart, even when it makes me cry. 'Cause I have long surrendered what I cannot change. I only want to face it unafraid. I'm unafraid of truth, 'cause it leads to understanding. I'm unafraid of sorrow, it keeps my heart expanding. And if our life's a tapestry stitched by love and grace, every patch has been a brilliant shade. So I'll go where I'm going, unafraid, yeah, unafraid. If courage is proceeding in the face of fear, well, sometimes bruised and bleeding is the way from there to here. And some of life's gambles came with the price I paid, but it was always worth it when I played. So I'll go where I'm going, unafraid. Unafraid. God knows I've surrendered, and heaven knows I've prayed. So let me be remembered, unafraid. Never could have come this far on my own. But for those who held me up, well, facing the unknown, and I'll never walk alone. Well, I'm unafraid to love you, fierce and strong, even if it breaks me hoping when that love is gone. 'Cause if our life is measured by the love we gave, well, I'm grateful that it's been a life well made. So I'll go where I'm going, unafraid, yeah, unafraid. Heaven knows I surrendered and I've prayed. So I'll go where I'm going, unafraid, yes, unafraid.